The beginning of retirement can be a pretty strange period of life. And don't take it from me, take it from the hundreds of retirees that we've talked to. Because think about it, you spent the last 20, 30, or 40 years in working mode, and then all of a sudden it stops. You probably agree with me that that's quite an adjustment. And a lot of retirees that I hear from, they can get unpleasantly surprised when they get to this stage of their life. It's actually the best stage of life, but only if you prepare for it the right way, right? It's more than just money. That's obviously a very crucial part of retirement planning, but there's people who have all the money they need and they're not going to spend it, but they're still not happy. So let's use this video to just think ahead and not get caught off guard as we move forward in life, as we get to this new stage of life. I'm going to share just two things with you. And as you hear them, you might think, you're crazy, Dave. There's no way people think that. But I'm just sharing with you what other people have said, really what they've shared with me. And they've shared through comments on this channel, through planning sessions on the phone with them, and even clients and discussions we've had. So let's get into it. And by the way, I'm Dave Zoller. I have a retirement planning firm, Streamline Financial, with Tim and Luke and Sean. But the number one thing is, it may be hard to spend your retirement savings. It's an adjustment. Even with those who have millions, many still have this feeling in the first few, could be months, it could be a few years of retirement. And when I tell that to people, they think, well, maybe for that person, but not for me. I'm going to have no problem spending my money in retirement. And then they retire, and then they realize it's harder than it seems, especially in the beginning. Now, if you're retired and you feel this way now, or if you felt it when you first retired, let us know in the comments if this is actually a real feeling. But why doesn't anybody talk about this feeling then? You know, your retired friends, they might not be talking about it because a lot of us, we don't talk much about money with friends, right? Maybe we're talking about investments or the economy or things like that, but not so much the psychological part of it. That isn't talked about enough. And you might also have a feeling, if you brought this sort of thing up, that you might be judged a little bit or thought differently from a friend, right? You bring up to someone, oh, I've got this money, but I'm afraid to spend it. They, you know, if they're still working, they might be thinking, oh, big problem for you to not be able to spend your own money. So even though people don't talk about this much, don't feel bad or odd if you are feeling this, because it makes sense. It's a habit you've just developed over the last 40 years. Every time we think about retirement, pretty much our whole life, that's always been equivalent to savings, right? A retirement is accumulation. Retirement is the nest egg and building it. And now it's not that anymore. It's spending it. So it's hard to break habits, right? Especially one that's been cemented into our normal everyday life and really for the last 40 years. So it takes effort. But one of the things that helps with this is just regular reviews of your plan. And let me show you an example of what I mean. If you can look at these what if scenarios of, you know, what if I spent an extra 20K on vacations each year? How does that impact the plan? Or what if we gave a bigger than normal gift to charity? How does that impact the plan? You know, how does the decision that we make today impact the long-term plan? That's important. That's a really important thing for our clients at Streamline. It's having that level 10 out of 10 confidence with their financial decisions so that they can feel good about taking the whole family on a trip, right? And spending that amount of money to do so instead of feeling, you know, anxious or worried if they made the right decision. The next thing is an obvious one, but again, I don't hear much advice on how to prepare for it. So the obvious part of retirement is that you're going to have a lot more time available than you've been having. And we both know that time is more valuable than money, but only if the time is spent on things that we truly want to be doing, right? We all want a significant life. We all want a fulfilling life. And you may have heard about the 5 stages of retirement. The first one is the honeymoon phase. And during that phase, you can pretty much do anything. You could sit on the porch and drink lemonade. And I only say that because I mentioned that in a previous video and got some comments about it. I want to drink lemonade on my porch, but you can do anything. You could golf 180 days straight the day after you retire and do it for 180 days and you'd be loving it. But from what I've heard from people who have done this before, there comes a point in the future, and maybe it's on day 181 where you're golfing, where all of a sudden that golf starts to feel like work. Or it's that feeling of, is this really all there is? So all your golfers out there are probably yelling at me right now and thinking, no way. And maybe you're the exception, right? But there's a lot of others who have gone before you, and that's how they felt. So what's the solution to spending time in the best possible way for you? I'll give you 2 resources, and then I'll give you kind of a way to filter what you do in a week so that you can increase your happiness with how you're spending your time. So the first thing to actually have is a mindset that is important for retirement, and it's the beginner's mind. And I'm actually I did a whole video on this. I'll link to that video either on the screen or below to watch that. And then the next thing is 5 journal prompts to think about and write your answers to. And I'll link to the full training, free training on that below too. Now for the filter to run through all these possible things that you can do in retirement and how are you going to live your retirement and what are you going to do with your time, try to have something, this is the answer, and you might have heard it before, but try to have something each week where you can accomplish 3 things. It's creativity, it's connection, and it's contribution, right? Creativity, also curiosity, right? We want to be able to have ideas, read new things that are interesting, and spark new pathways in our brain and create. We were meant to do that. Connection, we were also meant to have connection with people and God. And then contribution, you've done this. You've contributed your whole career, right? You were helping others, whether it was patients or clients or customers or your team members, if you worked at a team, or maybe it was public service or helping the general public, you were contributing. And if that goes away all of a sudden, when you're done working, there's gonna be a void at some point in the future that you're gonna feel. So it may make sense to write down those 3 things: contribution, connection, and creativity, or curiosity. And if you're still watching this and you haven't subscribed, think about subscribing, because I'm gonna talk more about these strategies to living a fulfilling retirement on this channel, but also talk about the smart money strategies and money decisions we need to be making, tactics and strategies to help really get to that level 10 out of 10 competence. So hopefully that was helpful. If it was, give it a like, and then I'll see you in the next video.